how did I create this theme? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, so I was recently commissioned to work on a very large project and I'm very excited about it. And today I wanted to show you a little bit behind the scenes of how I created the theme song for a 90s cartoon style show that's being worked on over the next 6 to 9 months, and I'm sure you'll hear more about it as we get closer to that time. So I'm definitely under NDA and I can't share too much about it, so I'm going to share dangerously close to how much I'm allowed to share. I'm sure I'll be getting a call later about this. However, I wanted to show you guys a little bit about what I've been working on and how you can do the same. So when I got this call to write a theme song for this show, the initial thing that came to mind was, okay, first and foremost, let me see some artwork because I really love being inspired by visuals. And so immediately I got some of these cartoon renderings and some of these animations that were absolutely beautiful and definitely brought some things to mind. And specifically, the client wanted to have a sound reminiscent of 90s cartoon theme songs. And so as soon as I thought of that, I started to think of, okay, some chromaticism. And traditionally in that style, the bass lines actually walk down by half steps a lot. And so I went over to the piano and I opened up my DAW, my Cubase session, and I literally first take wrote this. I was really happy with that, and it's pretty rare actually that as soon as you see a visual, like you are inspired with the theme that's going to be approved by the team, that's going to be the right length, it's going to be the right instrumentation, and all of that crazy stuff. So thankfully, I've already worked with this particular client many times before, so I'm very familiar with the language that they choose to use and the expectations and that kind of stuff. And so very grateful that in this particular situation, I kind of knew exactly the style they were going for. And I also know that I have great friends that if I give them the right freedom and the right instructions, that they're going to take what I create and they're going to kind of do their thing, work their magic. And so I already knew to mind that there was a friend, an orchestrator that I've worked with before, that I knew that if I were to give him my piano sketch, he'd be able to orchestrate it and really do with what I needed him to do. So I wrote that little theme here and I thought it was really catchy, really cool. I had to do like some super minor little edits just to kind of remove any of the false notes that I hit or some pedals, whatever. But I just wanted to come up with this quick little 30-second piano sketch. I sent it to the client and immediately he said, that's the one, let's do it. And so he started sending me some lyric ideas. And whenever I start getting lyrics, I want to beef up the orchestration. I want to take this and I want to run with it. And so I got some lyrics and I immediately, without really knowing 100% what the melody was, I started playing with the lyrics, and within 20-30 minutes, I started recording some vocals. And you'll notice that there's some little chunks missing on purpose because I don't want to give away what this is for just yet. So here's what I came up with. Pretty simple.
Trotting through the trees, saving lives with much speed. Here's the hero we need, friendship and daring. What adventure beckons, we'll know in 12 seconds. Can we help you reckon? Friendship and daring, musical blaring. There he is, here comes the now.
Okay, obviously pretty basic, not well mixed at all, but it gets the idea across and it shows there's going to be multiple vocal parts and it gives some sense of, okay, here's what's going to happen. So I took that, pitched that again, and this is all happening within 20-30 minutes of a Facebook message conversation with the client, going back and forth. They loved that. And so I decided, okay, let me really beef this up. Let me give some more context as what this might feel like if we put a live band behind it. So I threw in this accordion part.
Trotting through the trees.
Just want to give some depth, and then a little synth bass part. Just gonna give some bum 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 bum. But most noticeably is a drum kit to give this thing a lot of life. Notice how I'm really emphasizing a lot of the offbeats with these cymbals. That helps a lot. And then probably the most essential part is I just recorded some quick electric guitar, just kind of walking down the chords. Notice how they're all half steps, how the bass line goes da 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 da, right? Just kind of walking down, which helps a lot in this style. And then if we put all the parts together,
trotting through the trees, saving lives with much speed. Here's the hero we need, friendship and daring. What adventure beckons.
And so I sent that over to the team, and they really loved what I did. But that's when they threw me a curveball. They said, hey, we love it, but can you write this for a female vocal instead? We really feel like that's the right direction. And of course I said, yeah, that's fine. So for those of you who write songs with vocals, that's a bit of a challenge, because especially when you have live recordings, like in the case of my guitar track and whatnot, I just recorded a live vocal that was clearly a male part. So it has its own challenges, but at the end of the day, this is also just a demo, and it's going to be recorded by live musicians later. So I said, of course. So I opened up my Cubase session again, and really all I had to do was this. I went to my piano, accordion, and synth bass, selected all of them, and in order to switch it, I decided, okay, if this is in the key of A flat for a male vocal, let's flip it on the inverse. Sometimes this might be called negative harmony, but it's basically where you take what is the furthest away key from where I am right now, and that will flip it from a male vocal into a female vocal. So I'm in the key of A flat, so I can either go down 5 semitones or half steps, or go up 7, and I can get to the exact halfway point, which is the female vocal in E flat. So let's try that. I selected all of that MIDI data. All I have to do is slide it up 7 half steps, and now it's in the key of E flat. Pretty simple. And then for the audio, I can make myself sound like a chipmunk by doing the vocals up here, and then taking the electric guitar, going over to my mixer, and just slapping a pitch shifting plugin on there. In this case, just use pitch proof, and I can actually make a +7 pitch, and that way it just mixes that in perfectly. So it gets the job done. It's obviously a little goofy sounding, but it at least gives the vocalist, in this case a female vocalist, the actual notes to sing. At this stage, I then handed this over to the orchestrator, told him a little bit more about the project and about what I wanted it to sound like, and then he worked his magic and came up with this backtrack, which is what the vocalist is going to record to. Here's what it sounds like. Enjoy. So, of course, after hearing that, I was like, whoa, that sounds incredible. Thank you for doing an amazing job. And one of the reasons that sounds so incredible, number one, because it's a great orchestrator, but number two, because it has live electric guitars on there. And he's doing some chugs. So he's kind of taking what my piano is doing, and he just played it on guitar instead, which really gives it that rock kind of anime edge, which I love. And I've later heard that it sounds like Dragon Ball Z, which is very near and dear to my heart. So yay for that. And also he doubled the melody on the electric guitar as a solo line. So that's really helpful for the vocalist. And then the next stage was to get the lyrics to the vocalist and tell her a little bit about what our process was going to be. Basically said, hey, record this as dry as possible so that we can add our reverb and delay effects. And so we tried that. And when we got back with the recordings, we played it into the track and we realized this still feels a little bit flat. And I talked to the vocalist and said, hey, why don't you triple track each of the melody tracks? That way we can put one in the center, one on the left, one on the right, and we can lower the volume a little bit, and it kind of acts as a natural chorus. And so I took that and I auto-tuned them a tiny bit, not unnaturally so, but just to fill it out. Did a little bit of gating, a little bit of compression, a little bit of reverb and delay. Give those back to the mixer. He put them all in, and then everything fits really nicely. And here we are within 48 hours. Here's the track. Let's check it out.
Trotting through the trees, saving lives with great ease. He's the hero we need, friendship and daring. Which adventures beckon, never fear we will win. Noble new tales to spin, friendship and daring, music and caring. Now's the time, here comes.
So I'm really happy with it. We still have a couple of edits, a couple of live instruments to add back into the mix, but hey, 48 hours, not bad at all. And so moral of the story here is, number one, collaborating with other really talented artists and musicians will always elevate the work that you do. None of us live in a vacuum. None of us live in a box. Number two, when you work with other people who can extract your ideas and do something more than what you had originally planned and get a fresh perspective, in my case, working with an orchestrator who's really good with this type of music and tracked live guitars, that really adds another layer of depth and a layer of musicality that even me and all my experience, my one vantage point is not going to cover. And then lastly, using your resources, knowing what your strengths are, knowing what your weaknesses are. Now, I am not a lyricist, and so when I write songs, I always ask either a friend to write lyrics, or I'll ask the client themselves, hey, what do you think about the words? And I can edit words and I can help put them together to help shape the story. But ultimately, I want the core content to come from the storyteller themselves. And that way I'm using their source material, and it just helps create more authenticity with the music. And so I know my strength is at the songwriting process, but my strength is not in the orchestration. My strength is not in the lyric writing. So by surrounding myself with the proper people, we create a team and we create a beautiful collaboration that creates a piece of art that is exponentially more valuable than any of us by ourselves could have put in. So that's my encouragement for you, to step out and to collaborate with others, because you can really come up with some really cool art. And notice how fast we did it, because everyone did their one part. We put it all together and made quick edits. And now we have something really cool to show for it. So thanks for hanging out and checking out my process. Hope this is interesting to you, and I'll see you next time.